The weekend that refused to be predictable. Match 1, Bournemouth vs Manchester United. Final score 2-2. There are games that make you question everything you thought you knew about football. This was one of them. Bournemouth came into this fixture with something to prove, not to the world, to themselves. They had been grinding results, building quietly, doing what well-drilled sides do when nobody is watching closely enough. And on this day, at their ground, with their crowd buzzing with a belief that borders on defiance, they were not going to roll over. Not for anyone. Not even for the Red Devils. Manchester United arrived with the weight of expectation that never quite leaves that badge, that name, that history. There is a pressure that follows this club everywhere it goes, and whether the form justifies it or not, the demand is always the same: win, dominate, remind the world who you are. But football does not read the script written in newspaper columns or social media predictions. The opening exchanges were fierce. Both teams pressing, both teams refusing to yield the middle of the pitch without a fight. Bournemouth's organisation was striking. Their defensive shape was tight, their transitions fast and purposeful. Every time United tried to build, there was resistance, coordinated, intelligent, hungry resistance. Then the deadlock broke. Bournemouth struck, and their supporters erupted with the kind of noise that rattles visiting sides, rattles composure, rattles certainty. 1-0 to the hosts. The upset was alive. The upset was breathing. United responded, because that is what United do, even in their most chaotic periods. They respond. The equalizer came and the balance shifted, the momentum swung, and for a brief moment it felt like the visitors would take control. It felt like the natural order was reasserting itself. It was not. Bournemouth went ahead again. 2-1. This time the goal carried with it the weight of real belief. This was not a fluke. This was not a counterattack born from desperation. This was a football team executing its plan and daring the Giants to respond. And the Giants did. 2-2. Drama piled on top of drama. United clawing it back, refusing to be beaten, refusing to let the afternoon belong entirely to the South Coast. When the final whistle blew, both teams could claim something and neither team could claim everything. A draw that will be discussed, debated, and dissected for weeks. Bournemouth showed they belong at this level with their chests out. United showed they still have the character to fight, even when the performance is far from their best. 2-2. A result that satisfied nobody and fascinated everybody. Match 2, Preston vs Stoke City. Final score 0-1. Championship football operates on margins so fine that a single moment, one deflection, one save, one lapse in concentration, can define an entire afternoon. 90 minutes of effort condensed into a single goal and a single story. Preston and Stoke arrived at this fixture separated by desperation and determination in almost equal measure. Both clubs know what it feels like to be in a better place. Both clubs carry the ambition of sides that believe they deserve more. This match was always going to be tightly contested, tactical, grinding, and settled by the smallest of margins. And that is precisely what happened. Preston had the majority of the crowd on their side, and with that came the pressure to perform, to impose, to make the home advantage count. They created moments. They moved the ball with purpose at times. They threatened. But threatening and scoring are two very different disciplines in football, and on this day, the difference was cruel. Stoke were compact. Stoke were difficult. Stoke were the kind of team that makes you earn every inch of territory and then asks, but can you actually finish? Preston could not answer that question convincingly enough. And then Stoke struck. One moment, one goal, 0-1. What followed was a lesson in the mental demands of football. Preston pushed. Preston probed. Preston created moments that should have led to an equalizer, moments that the crowd willed over the line with every breath. But football can be merciless in its refusals, and on this afternoon it refused Preston completely. Stoke defended with discipline, with belief, with the organised stubbornness of a side that knows exactly what it is protecting and exactly why it matters. When it ended, 0-1, Preston were left to wonder about the inches and moments that separate results at this level. Stoke collected 3 points that felt like gold. In the Championship, every point is precious, and away victories like this one are the building blocks of a season that goes somewhere worth going. One goal, that was all it took. Football at its most brutally efficient. Match 3, Lens vs Angers. Final score 2-0. There is a version of Lens that plays football with fire in its chest and the roar of one of the most passionate atmospheres in French football at its back. When that version shows up, opposing teams arrive at the Stade Bollet de l'Elysée and face something that goes beyond tactics and formation. They face an environment. Angers found out exactly what that environment feels like. Ligue 1 is a division that can surprise and disorient if you are not careful, not focused, not prepared for the intensity of teams that make their home ground a fortress. Lens have built something at their stadium, a culture of noise, of togetherness, of a football club deeply connected to the industrial, working-class heartbeat of the city it represents. Angers came here with a plan. Whether that plan survived the opening exchanges is another matter entirely. Lens pressed early. They pressed with intensity and belief, forcing Angers into mistakes, forcing them backwards, forcing them into decisions they did not want to make. The pressure was relentless and eventually it produced its reward. The first goal came and the ground shook with celebration, not polite applause, but the kind of release that comes from a crowd that is genuinely, profoundly invested. From that point, Angers were chasing the game. And chasing the game at Bollard is one of the more uncomfortable places to do so in French football. The noise does not let you settle, the pressing does not let you breathe. Every misplaced pass feels like it carries a consequence. The second goal sealed it. 2-0. Lens had been professional, dominant, and deserving. They had done what home sides in this position are supposed to do. They had made their quality and their atmosphere count. Angers left with nothing. Lens took everything that was available. A clean sheet, 3 points, and the feeling of a club moving with purpose through the season. 2-0. Convincing. Clinical. Exactly what was needed. Match 4, RB Leipzig vs Hoffenheim final score, 2-1. The Bundesliga is a competition that does not allow you to switch off. It punishes distraction. It rewards intensity, and when two sides who understand this meet, the result is invariably compelling football played at a pace that asks serious questions of everyone involved. RB Leipzig are a club built on pressing, on speed of thought, on vertical football that moves defenders backwards and creates chaos in structured defensive lines. Hoffenheim are no strangers to ambitious, attack-minded football either. This was never going to be a dull, cagey encounter, and it was not. Leipzig began the game as though they had somewhere urgent to be. The tempo they set in the opening 20 minutes was suffocating. The ball moved quickly, the runs were timed with precision, and Hoffenheim, despite their own attacking ambitions, found themselves on the back foot before they had properly organized their rhythm. The first goal came for Leipzig, and it felt like the beginning of a comfortable afternoon for the hosts. But Hoffenheim are not a side that collapses. They are not a side that sees one goal against and decides the contest is over. They regrouped, they found their shape, and they found their goal. 1-1, a moment that reset the match and reminded everyone watching that this was far from settled. For a period, Hoffenheim were genuinely the better team. They imposed their style. They created danger. Leipzig were pushed, prodded, forced to defend with a seriousness they had not expected to need so early in the afternoon. But quality tells. Leipzig found the decisive moment, 2-1, and from that point they managed the game with the kind of composed maturity that separates title challengers from the rest. They protected the lead without killing the game entirely, and they saw it out with authority. 2-1 to Leipzig. A victory that required everything they had. A result that tells a bigger story about a side that finds ways to win even when the afternoon does not unfold as planned. In the Bundesliga, that ability is not a minor detail. It is everything. Match 5, Villarreal vs Real Sociedad final score, 2-2. Save the best for last. La Liga delivered a finale to the weekend's action that felt, from the very first whistle, like it was going to end in something memorable. Two clubs with identity, two clubs with philosophy, two clubs that believe, genuinely believe, that football should be played a certain way. Villarreal and Real Sociedad sharing the same pitch is an occasion that rewards the patient viewer. These are teams that think about the game. They construct rather than simply execute. They probe rather than simply attack. And when the quality of both sides is close, as it undeniably was, the result is the kind of football that makes you lean forward in your seat and stay there. Villarreal took the lead. Their football in that opening phase was sharp, precise, the kind of coordinated movement that speaks to hours of work on the training ground. Real Sociedad, to their enormous credit, did not panic. They absorbed the setback and continued doing what they do, passing, moving, pressing intelligently, waiting for the moment to arrive. And the moment arrived. 1-1. Real Sociedad back in it, their confidence visibly restored, the belief flowing through their play once again. Then Villarreal again. 2-1. Was this the decisive moment? Was this the goal that would send the yellow submarine sailing home with 3 points? The crowd thought so. The momentum suggested so. Real Sociedad refused the suggestion entirely. 2-2. The equalizer came and it carried the emotional force of a goal that meant everything. Real Sociedad had fought, had refused to fold, had kept their shape and their belief intact through periods of real pressure, and now they had their reward. The final minutes were breathless. Both sides pushing for a winner. Both sides creating moments that demanded saves, demanded last-ditch defending, demanded the kind of individual brilliance that separates matches from moments and moments from memories. Neither side found the winner. The final whistle brought 4 shared points, 4 celebrations, and 4 disappointed sets of support simultaneously. It brought a scoreline, 2-2, that captured an afternoon of football played with intelligence, pride, and intensity in equal measure. 2-2, the score that tells you both teams were right, and football, once again, was the winner. The weekend in full: 5 games, 5 stories, 17 goals spread across cities, leagues, and languages, each one carrying the weight of ambitions, battles, tactical plans executed and disrupted, hearts raised and broken within the span of 90 minutes. This is why football refuses to allow certainty. This is why the prediction is always dangerous, the outcome always uncertain, and the watching always necessary. Because somewhere between the kickoff and the final whistle, something happens that no preview could have prepared you for. Bournemouth and United sharing 4 goals in a thriller. Stoke's single moment of precision deciding Preston's afternoon. Lens putting on a show for their faithful. Leipzig finding the resolve to outlast Hoffenheim's resistance. Villarreal and Sociedad producing a draw that left nobody satisfied and everyone breathless. The weekend served everything it promised and several things it did not. And precisely that, is the point. You cannot afford to look away. Not for a second. Not in this game.